Welcome to the Passive Income Machine podcast, where we show you how to break free from the grind and achieve real financial freedom in 10 years or less. My name is Ryan D. Lee, and I've helped thousands turn income into cash flow, trade fake money for real assets, and take back control over their time, their wealth, and ultimately their life. Each week, you'll get strategy, tools, and mindset to build your own passive income machine. So my friends, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. All right, my friends, welcome back to the Passive Income Machine podcast. You are on the microphone today with me, Ryan D. Lee. And wherever you're at today, I want to thank you. Thank you for tuning in. We're 10 episodes deep inside of this podcast now. And whether or not you've been a long-time follower of the content that I produce or you're a brand new listener, I want to welcome you to this podcast. The objective, the goal of this podcast is to empower you with money to achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. And, today we're going to be talking about something that is critically important in the game of money. It's understanding what money is. I mean, it's a really interesting topic because we interact with money virtually every single day in multiple ways. Now, in many ways, we've lost track or lost touch of the money that we're interacting with because everything is done digital. Like my bills are paid on autoplay, but no doubt right now I'm interacting with money, right? My electricity is on. I have water running through the pipes at my house. I have food that's in my refrigerator. And whether I'm paying a bill today or not, because I have these services at my beck and call, there is money that is inherently going out my economy every single day. It's impossible to not spend money on a daily basis inside of our world. But we very rarely actually understand what money truly is. I mean, think about this. Is money a piece of paper? Well, today it takes the form of paper, but it also takes the form of numbers on a bank account or cryptocurrency in some wallet or, gold and silver if we believe that that's a better store of wealth for us. All of these things have a function of money, but they don't encapsulate the full idea of what money is. Now, if we want to get outside of money being, the forms that money takes, what is money? Is money a medium of exchange? Is it a store of value? Is money good? Is money evil? All of these different lies, or not even lies, but misunderstandings or not complete truths around what money is, makes it hard to be empowered with money. So let me cut to the chase and let me give you the universal truth of what money is. At the core of everything, something that is always true is money is a receipt for time traded. Money is a function. It's a currency of what we trade our time for. For all of us, some of us are trading our time for more money on an hourly basis. Some of us are trading our time for less money on an hourly basis. But every dollar, it represents a piece of your life that you're never going to get back. So the question I have for you in this podcast is, will you use money as a tool? Will you use it to stay trapped, or will you use it as a tool to break free? So in order to understand this, let's dive into really the key points that I want to make inside of this episode. Let's say you have a full-time job, whether it's at a business that you've started, whether you're an employee somewhere, whether you're managing people, whether you're working from home or in an office, it doesn't matter. Let's say you're working a typical 40-hour work week. Now, many people work way beyond 40 hours, but let's just say you're working a 40-hour work week and you get 2 weeks off a year, so you're working for 50 weeks out of the year. And let's say you do it from your mid-20s to your mid-60s. That means over the next 45 years of your life, you're working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year for 45 years of your life. That equates to 90,000 hours of your life that you're going to be spending. Now, if we add to your work, the time that you spend on work-related activities, commuting would be a big one, time away from your family, prepping for work, stressing about work, answering emails on the weekend, whatever it is, we've become more connected with work than we ever have before, which means ultimately over the course of your life, you're trading well over 100,000 hours of your waking active life in the pursuit of money. Money is something that you're trading thousands of hours for over the course of your life. And ultimately what this means is, if we just track the portion of your life that you're actually awake for, that you're not sleeping for, over 40%, in fact, closer to 50% of your entire waking life as an adult human being is spent trading time for money. My friends, take that into take a deep breath on that. Take that into consideration, because this is ultimately what money represents. Because at the end of the day, today, and there's all kinds of statistics for this, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I found an article online that said only 18% of the workforce are highly satisfied with their work. That means, 80% of the workforce is trading thousands of hours a week, thousands of hours a month, a year, over the course of their life, doing something that they don't necessarily love. They're doing something in the hope that one day they can have enough money to buy their life back and to achieve more satisfaction. Money is stored life energy. That's really what it comes down to. So in your hand, you hold the currency. When you have a dollar in your hand, you hold both a receipt for what you've already traded your time for, but unless we understand what money is, it's the tool to buy our time back in the future. I want you to consider this very, very importantly inside of your life. You are trading money, or you are trading time for money, one way or the other. The question is, will you become consciously aware of the cost that you're putting into the money that you have? The reason I bring this up is, inside of the passive income machine, I tell people, and I set a standard that you have to save a minimum of 10% of all you make. Preferably, you have the ability to make enough money and still maintain a lifestyle that you want, and be able to save, closer to 20% of what you make. The more you can climb that ladder of being able to make money and make enough money to sustain a lifestyle and save more money, the closer you can get to 30, 40, 50% of savings, the faster and the easier it is to achieve financial freedom. But at the end of the day, I set a standard that you have to save at least 10% of the money that you're making in order for the passive income machine to even be a viable solution for you. If you're not saving 10% of the money that you're making, that means you have to get better and more conscious about where your money's going. Because the reason so many people find themselves trapped with money is they've lost touch with what money is, with what it represents. If money truly is your receipt for the time that you've traded and your tool to buy your time back, that means every dollar inside of your personal economy should be highly, highly valued. It should be regarded as something that you've given your life for. I mean, if we started looking at our money that way, how much more intentional would we be about how, where, and when we spend our money? How much more intentional would we be about what we want to do with our money, and how quickly would we want our money to buy our time back? Hey, quick time out from the show. I just had to pop in and say, if this content is resonating with you, the How to Retire in 10 Years Summit is going to blow your mind. Every strategy you hear us talk about starts there. This is the ultimate event for creating real financial freedom in 2025. We've got an early registration bonus that you're not going to want to miss. Spots are filling fast, so check out that link in the description, or just head over to retireit10years.com and get registered now. Let's make this your year. Now, back to the show. The only way that financial freedom makes sense for you is if you can start to get clear on, first and foremost, what money is, and second, what you want money to do for you. So inside of our world, if someone is committed and willing to save 10% of the money that they make, then the next aspect that I have them do is I have them get clear on what they actually want their money to do for them. In order to get clear on this, then you have to answer 3 questions, okay? And these 3 questions are the epitome of a drive, the epitome of the reason that you have money and what you want money to do. Because in our life, in your life, you don't actually want money. Consider that. You might have money in your bank account. You might have money in a retirement account. You might be in the pursuit of money right now, going to work, trading your time, but you don't actually want the thing that you're trading your time for. You don't actually want money. You want what money can be traded for, right? You want security, you want peace of mind, you want freedom, you want to travel, you want to do the things that money will be traded for. So in order to understand what you want to trade money for, you have to start to get clear on what it is you actually want. Now, I've asked this question to quite literally hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years. And, with the exception of a few minority of people, very few people can actually concisely and succinctly answer the questions I'm about to ask you. So that's not to put you on the spot, but that's to invite you to start to consider more and gain more clarity around these 2 questions. In fact, for you to become financially free ever, but especially in 10 years or less, you have to have clarity around 3 questions. Question number 1, you have to know what you want. Now, that seems like a really simple question. What is it that you want? And on the surface, we have all the things that people have told us to want, right? We want a house, we want a nice car, we want nice clothes, we want to travel, whatever it is. And all of those things may or may not be the thing that you actually want. But when you start to put it in context of what are you willing to give your life for, because that's essentially what you're doing, get really, really clear on what exactly it is that you want. You're giving your life for this anyway. And if you're unclear on what you want, you will give your entire life away and have nothing to show for it. So what is it that you want? For me, when I first started my path to financial freedom, I had to get clear on what I wanted and why I wanted it. So the second question is, why does what you want matter? You have to get a very clear mental image that will give you the clarity of exactly what you want, and then you have to emotionally connect to it, because in order for you to get clear and to not spend all of your money and to put it into a system and to become consciously aware of the money that's coming in and going out of your life, you have to know what the alternative is, what it could be doing for you instead. So what is it that you want and why does it matter? When I first started my pathway to achieving financial freedom, I was pretty clear on what I wanted. I wanted to be a more present father. At the time in my life when I got very, very committed to this, I was traveling a lot. I was working well in excess of 40 hours a week. And I kept telling myself that when I had enough money, I'll buy my life back. I'll become a better father. I'll be more present. I'll be more involved in my kid's life when I have enough money. And that came into stark reality for me that I don't have all the time in the world. And what I love the most might be taken from me unless I value every single moment that I have. And so I got very, very clear. I wanted to be a present father. Now, second to that, I also wanted to have more control over my life and the options that I pursued in life. Up to that point, I was taking every option that was put in front of me because it gave a trade-off of more money. But what I ultimately wanted is I wanted to be more considerate of the options that I took, the avenues that I went down, and I felt like I had something bigger to offer than my job could ever give me, right? I felt like I had a bigger purpose than showing up to an office, directing people in the sense of I used to sell medical devices and equipment that way. So rather than selling medical devices, was there something that would give me more of a sense of fulfillment? Now, I didn't know what that was, and I wanted to be able to have the freedom to explore that rather than waiting for one day when I had enough money. So what do you want and why does it matter? If you're not clear on those two things, and if you're not emotionally connected to those two things, then what money is for you will be meaningless. It doesn't really matter. You can spend your money on everything, and you'll chase all of the happiness that you think spending your money will give you. And the reality of it is, my friends, you'll never actually find the satisfaction, the fulfillment that you're looking for in spending money. In fact, you're likely a lot closer to financial freedom if you can just get clear on what you want and why it matters. Usually, the best things in life are almost virtually free. Now, they're enhanced. The quality of the best things being in life being free are enhanced with money, right? If you want to spend time with your family, it's a lot funner to spend time with your family on a beach, on an island somewhere, doing something fun. So those two things go hand in hand when you know what you want and why it matters. The third question is, who must you become? Because the reality of it is, all of the results that you have inside of your life right now, they're the result of your mindsets, your skill set, your financial IQ. They're the results of who you've been up to this point. If you're unsatisfied or you want more inside of your life than you currently have, the only way to get it is you have to become someone new. You have to develop your mindsets, develop your skill sets, and become someone new. In fact, what you have to step into is becoming an investor versus a speculator. Now, you might think that those two things are completely different, but I want you to consider right now, you might actually be thinking you're investing your money when you're actually not. Let me give you an example. Let's say you had $100,000 that you had. It's the representation of all the time you've traded up to this point. It's also the representation of the tool to get you what you want and why it matters. So this money is extremely valuable to you. Now, when you examine the money under this lens, would you want to invest this money to get what you want, or would you want to speculate this money to get what you want? Like, if you just practice this, let's say you go home and you tell your spouse, hey, honey, I just speculated our $100,000. I'm pretty sure it's going to give us what we want because, of why we want it. And, just using that word as a speculator, how confident does that make you feel in the outcome? Probably not very well, right? But the definition of a speculator is someone who parts with capital, right? The money, the time that you've traded your money for, they part with capital with the hope of future appreciation. In essence, what you're doing when you speculate is you're buying a future resale value. What that means is when you're putting your money into the stock market, for example, you're not actually investing it. Now, you've been told you're investing it, you've been told you're being responsible, but you are speculating. And we could exchange the word speculating with gambling and make you feel even more desperate about the money that you have and the outcomes you're going to get from it. Because you could easily speculate your money in the stock market, or you could speculate it in Vegas, one or two. But at the end of the day, the definition is the same. You're parting with your capital and you're hoping to sell whatever you bought, a mutual fund or a stock, at a future resale value that's higher than you bought it today. Now, as you take one step back from the future resale value, do you control the outcome or the future resale value? You don't. You just have to wait long enough and hope hard enough that you can sell it for more than you bought it for. This is quite literally the definition of speculation, and this is what you're doing with your money. You are speculating on an unknown future. So the opposite of this is becoming an investor. This is what you have to become in order to use money as a tool to get what you want. Now, the definition of an investor is someone who parts with capital. Same idea, right? You've traded your time, effort, and energy to have that capital, so you're parting with it today with the expectation of safety of principal. Now, do you notice how this is already fundamentally different than a speculator? You're parting with capital, not with the hope of a future resale value, but with the expectation of safety of principal first. The next part of this is then you're parting with capital with the expectation of safety of principal and a return, an adequate return in the form of interest, dividends, or rent. So you want your capital to be safe first and foremost, and then you want an adequate return in the form of interest, dividends, or rent. Now consider this for a moment. Warren Buffett says the 2 rules of investing are: number 1, don't lose money. Okay, what's rule number 2? Well, it's don't forget rule number 1. How often are those 2 rules applied to the idea of investing normally, right? When most people say they're investing and they're actually speculating, putting their money in the stock market. You know when you're putting your money in the stock market that you're speculating. You know that you're likely going to lose money, and you also know that hopefully, given a long enough time horizon, hopefully one day you'll end up with more than you put in. Now, I'm not disputing the idea that you're going to have a positive return over a long enough period of time, but I do want you to consider you are not mastering your money. You are not capable of using money as a tool when you're speculating. When you're speculating, you're just crossing your fingers and hoping for one day. But an investor is someone who becomes mentally aware of what money represents. They use it as a tool to first and foremost never lose money, protect their principal, and then pursue an adequate return in the form of interest, dividends, or rent. This, my friends, is at the core of mastering money. In fact, if money truly is a tool, which I believe it is, the other side of that equation is it will never replace you as the driver. A tool is only as good as the person that picks it up and uses that tool to get a very, very specific outcome. So you've been listening to the Passive Income Machine podcast, and the objective of this podcast is to help you raise your financial intelligence, to become a better investor, to never lose the money that you've traded your time for, and to systematically and incrementally grow it into enough cash flow to replace your expenses within 10 years. The clarity that you need to make that happen is the clarity to those 3 questions. What do I want? Why does it matter? And who must I become? And the real return that you're chasing, yes, we want your money to grow. You have to earn a good return on investment. But the real return you're chasing, the reason that we constrain the time frames into 10 years is I want you to get a return on your life. My friends, your time is the most precious currency you have. It's the most precious resource you have. And if you're not careful, you're going to get sucked and lulled into the trap of perpetually trading time for money, time for money, time for money. You'll be the person that's traded 80, 90, 100, 110,000 hours of your life with very little to show for it. But if you can raise your level of awareness, raise your level of intention, and raise your financial IQ, then it is quite literally possible for you to achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. You've already traded part of your life for money. Don't trade the rest of it by default. Rise up and live free. All right, my friends, thanks so much for hanging out today. I really appreciate you tuning in. But before you go, if we talked about something today that made you want to take action, you need to get yourself registered for the How to Retire in 10 Years Summit. It's the financial game changer that you've been looking for, teaching you exactly how to create passive income and financial freedom in 2025. Jump on it early because we've got a special bonus waiting for you. All the details are in the link below, or head on over to retireintenyears.com. So get registered and I'll see you at the summit.